Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Halo 3 ODST. Have you ever wanted to play as not Master Chief, Spartan Badass, but instead as an orbital drop shock trooper who is also badass, but also a normal dude, but also badass? This intro needed another edit. Let's just get on with the review. Halo 3 ODST is available on PC and Xbox via that Master Chief collection, which bumps it up to 60 FPS on the console. This is also available via Xbox Game Pass, and ODST is about 4 to 6 hours long for its single player. So what exactly is Halo 3 ODST? Well, it's a spin-off Halo game set during the events of Halo 2, but it's still your typical first-person shooter set against the Covenant that the series is known for. The story is set in New Mombasa, and you play as an ODST member who's exploring the city in the aftermath of a big battle. These open-worldish segments happen at night, with a handful of enemies and collectibles peppering the city between you and your next objective. The sections are meant to feel more noir-esque rather than the traditional military bombastic sci-fi actions of regular Halo, with some light jazz-influenced sound and a lot of dark, moody spaces. It's an interesting idea and feels very unique for this series. Once your detective work uncovers the wanted item, usually an object that ties into that ODST member's story, you enter a flashback and relive the experience of that member through a handful of fairly linear Halo combat missions. While linear, they still have the Halo staples like driving, flying, and of course blasting as many Covenants as possible. This storytelling method of putting things in flashback also allows for a diverse range of locations and time of day, breaking up the night levels that are used to interconnect them. After the first object is found, the rest of the story can be discovered in any order, allowing for a bit of non-linearity until you uncover all the flashbacks and you're off to close out the story in the defense of New Mombasa. The shooting feels similar to Halo 3 with a few twists. As an ODST member, you have lower shields and your health doesn't auto-regenerate, requiring you to seek out healing should fights go bad. Additionally, you can't dual wield, jump as high, move as fast, or survive larger falls. That being said, you're hardly weak, as you still blow away hundreds of Covenant before the game ends. Aside from its campaign, which can be played in co-op with up to 4 people, the game introduced Firefight, a wave-based mode similar to Horde from Gears, which can also be played co-op. This is actually a pretty fun diversion after its somewhat short campaign, and I definitely played way too much of it back on the 360. So overall, ODST is an attempt to mix up the Halo formula a bit, both in storytelling and gameplay, with a different setting, mood, and storytelling angle paired with some great voice acting, interesting characters, and the usual Halo engaging set pieces. So what did I like about Halo 3 ODST? Well, the mood of the city and its contrast with the flashback missions is dark and pretty engaging, particularly how the environments and music change based off the time of day. Additionally, the storytelling method of finding pieces of the squad and then returning to them in flashback is a great motif, paired with some excellent voice acting and memorable characters. And lastly, the shooting here is still great. It's Halo, and the weapon assortment is good, and as always, the minute-to-minute gameplay is engaging. And as mentioned, Firefight is still awesome if you can get some buddies to play with you. When it comes to the bad, some of the combat choices do feel a bit regressive. While I understand why an ODST can't dual wield, taking that away removes player option and choice, which fundamentally does make the combat a little less interesting. Additionally, while the city sections are neat from a narrative perspective, actually playing them can feel a bit tedious. And with the campaign already being pretty short, these city sections do feel a bit like padding. And lastly, combat maps don't have nearly as many enemies as in the previous games, with a lot of them being more linear shooting galleries than sandbox, and the Covenant spawns also feel fairly routine. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, don't bother. Looking back, I think ODST is a maybe consider. It's a really unique game, one that I'm surprised Bungie took a risk in making, and I'm certain it's a lot of people's favorite Halo game, and I can completely understand why. Its smaller scope and more streamlined approach works generally, but some of the more idiosyncratic ideas such as the open world hub do get a bit tired even over the game's short length. ODST is a fun enough campaign, great firefight, and neat story are still enough for me to recommend, even though some of its more experimental ideas might have needed more time in the oven. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think about Halo 3 ODST? Is it your favorite Halo game? Did you ever play it? Please let me know in the comments, but regardless, go out there and give it a look.